I wanted to ask you guys your perspective from especially from your vantage point, being in the industries that you're in, the people that you're talking to, like this whole pandemic thing. Like, what is your take on it? How do you feel about it? Do you see, and what do you see coming as a result of this big change that's happened?
Hmm.
Should I take it?
Yeah.
First of all, regardless of how we feel about it, this has been a very difficult year for a lot of people that have had serious health consequences, financial consequences. People have lost their homes, their loved ones because of this. This has been a very difficult year for a lot of people, and that we're supremely blessed that we're even in a position to reflect on it, because a lot of people aren't even in the position to be able to even see the forest for the trees because they've been suffering so much. So anyone listening, if there is anything that you can do, especially around the holidays, to help people find their footing again who might have lost it this year, that's incredibly important to do. In regards to reset, I feel like we've all individually had our own personal journeys this year, right? Things that we thought were going to happen didn't happen. Huge transitions, huge changes. Um, I've personally had a really great year because I was stripped away from everything that I thought made me as this kind of Hollywood figure, celeb, whatever, and it was all kind of ripped away. And I actually had to deal with things, and I actually chose to deal with them publicly. So for me, it was a really healing journey, and it was a year that I actually had nowhere to go but to sit down with myself and actually commit to the kind of meditation that I'd been talking about or studying for many years. So I had more time with God this year in a way that I would not have um, maybe made the time or found the time to be devoted as I am now into my kind of spirituality and my practice and my focus on being a person of giving. I also feel that, the earth has had a really difficult 5 to 10 years. There's been a lot of pollution. There's been a lot of aggressive action in regards to people over resourcing resources,
Mhm.
deforestation, climate change. It's been a very, 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 very difficult time for the earth. So much pollution. And there is a part of me that feels that not just people, a humanity needed a reset, but the earth needed a minute to heal. And, to not take anything away from the tragedy and the heartbreak that a lot of people felt this year, there's also so much healing that we've all had that happened this year because we were forced to stay put. Healing that the earth needed. The earth decided um, it needed on some level. Things happen in a divine way. I really believe that. I don't believe in mistakes. So I'll say that I just want to find the positivity in a really difficult year.
Wow. Speak it, sister. That's
Right,
amazing.
bro.
Very, like, so amazing. Thank you. We have a moment of silence now to honor the words.
No,
I
it's so
mean, I
good.
mean,
I mean, there's nothing I can add to that. There's nothing.
I mean, what's been so great about recognizing the healing that the earth is actually having, and animals kind of coming out, and dolphins returning to Venice, and pollution clearing, is that I actually learned how to garden, which is really cool. And one of the first things I did, because I'd always be on a plane, so any plant that I would get, I would kill like within a week. And I actually learned how to garden this year, and actually getting my hands in the earth and Gaia and feeling like really like source energy and connecting to the earth in a very loving way that I really only experienced from my friends that are shamans or Native American healers. And I've only heard about them talk about, but actually like really being devoted to nature and to animals and this kind of like grounded energy was really the one of the first things that centered me up when everything felt like it was falling apart very quickly. I was just like, well, I have nothing to do and I have nowhere to go. Like, let me just like plant some stuff. And it was actually super healing because I wanted to give back to the earth that felt so depleted and so kind of heartbroken in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Such a trusting earth, you know,
Yeah.
and
No,
humans sometimes don't
that's
give it
really
the love.
sorry, I think I was interrupting you there. I thought you were
That-
complete, but there was a delay or something. Um, it's interesting. I feel like the one of the biggest challenges, and you were even describing it, like there's this opportunity that we all have for our own reset, our own growth and changes, changing the way that we think about things and do things and relate with each other, that has come about as really an opportunity from this experience. And not everyone's in the position to have that reflection. And then at the same time, like that's not a facilitated conversation in mass for a lot of people in a lot of places, right? Like if you turn on the news or the media or like YouTube, and the things that are trending are not, manifesting a high vibration through the lockdown or through the pandemic, right? It's like the things that people were looking for to engage in that take their mind off of things were like the Tiger King, instead of other, just different levels of conversation. I'd be very, Brian, you're nodding your head. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes up to me, my awareness, is the understanding of prana bandwidth and what that means for each individual. Where, and this is something I love to offer people, is every morning we wake up with X amount of energy, and that can be expanded through breath work, meditation, and other modalities. But we kind of have only so much that we can do. And when we're connected to our soul's purpose, um, which is which is that effortless flow of miracles, right? It's that the universe is conspiring for you. It's that highest excitement. It's that every step of the way you're kind of taken care of. A lot of us have gotten away from that. So we've had this pattern break in society where we've got to sit with our existential stress, and we've got to choose, how are we feeding our awareness? Where are we directing our awareness in our mind? Where are we placing it in the world? Are we placing it on Netflix and giving all of our beautiful, delicious life force energy towards something that is holding our consciousness and our awareness and not allowing us to truly feel?
Netflix is fine if you want to just. That's
I was
fine.
gonna say, by the way,
sorry,
Operation Christmas drop.
Netflix is fine. Netflix is fine.
Out now, you guys. Okay, all right. Continue, Brian.
In general, you're totally right. Totally right. And if that, and you know how much joy I got when I watched that, Kat. You know how much joy I got when we watched your movie.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Continue.
But anyways, I'm going to touch on even porn. Something that's completely locking our consciousness up. All of these things that we're doing to distract ourselves from feeling the internal sensations that are going on. So my main thing is, be very specific with where you're choosing to place your awareness and what you're deciding to create for yourself, because this is one of the most potent times for you to create a new life, for yourself and also for the planet. So, I think prana bandwidth is something everyone should understand. Figure out what are the things that are draining you, what are the things that are bringing you life, and make all the hard decisions in the morning, and then create some like beautiful time for rest throughout the day. Pick up gardening. I picked up the flute. Frank decided to move across country. Like everyone's making these gigantic changes to live their greatest becoming.
I love that you compared the flute to Frankie moving as a gigantic transition.
I don't know. I was like, well, listen, I'm like learning my emotions through the flute. I mean, it's an intimate thing.
It's something.
It's that personal journey.
Jordan, also, transition is like such a theme this year. I think for everybody, whether it's positive, well, there's no positive, negative, good, bad. It's just whether it's feels good or doesn't feel good or whatever. That's why our Oracle deck, we decided to make the focus of it transition. And so it's to help people dealing with transition. And that's what the Oracle deck theme will be. And that's whether transition is like, Jordan, we have a mutual friend, you and I, Jen, who we met at Rhythmia. Jen's cat just died recently. That for her was transition. I moved across country. That's transition. Like we're all going through our little transitions, whether it's a loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, the ending of a relationship, a new relationship, moving, like all of these are transitions in life. And so we want to help people navigate through that through the Oracle deck, and I just wanted to make sure to put that out there because Bryant was talking about transition, and that's how important it was for us to make this Oracle deck to help people with their transitions.
Totally. You know, and we're so much the things we decide to digest. You know, it's like the thoughts that we think creating our behaviors, those behaviors create our actions, and those actions consistently, you know, create our experience. So it's like, do you want to be free? You know, I think all of us here at some level decided to, you know, be very mindful with what we're bringing to the world and who we decide to become.
Yeah.
And now that my mind has expanded a little bit more from listening to Bryant, because he makes such a great point. I just watched a movie called The Current War. It's like with like Tesla and Edison and it, you know, kind of talking about their kind of race to, you know, who was going to really be the one who was going to powerhouse all the electricity, right, of like New York or you know, really across the earth. And you know, if you think of the light bulb stays on because there's no air within there. If there's air, well, I'm not an electrician, so you know, I'm an actor, so bear with me. But you know, the reason that it stays on is because there's no air that gets into it. So you have a certain amount of energy, but the second you start letting a bunch of air in, and you know, it will start to dim your light. And for me, especially, and I think Frankie can relate to this and Brian too, we are extremely protective over our time and our relationships and our energy. We don't invest money or time or energy into anything that's going to dim our light. It has to elevate us and the world, because that's really what our main mission is to heal and help people in this life, however long we're alive, right? We can't do it if we're dealing with dysfunctional relationship, a problematic, you know, family member, you know, going on social media and just spending all this time looking at what other people have and what other people are doing, you know. We don't, I mean, Frankie is in the news, so he can maybe reference this even more so because he has to even, I don't even know how he does it because he's constantly having to literally tell the news to the world. But I'm very, very careful about who I follow, how much news I watch, what kind of news I watch, where I get my information. A lot of the media is very fear based. Everything is watch out for this and be scared of that. And, you know, that energy people don't understand, but it actually does manifest into your body. Constantly feeding yourself fear and negativity and, you know, allowing yourself to participate in scenarios that aren't for your best self, you're going to start to stress and your immunity is going to go down and you're not going to be able to be as, you know, you don't want to be your best self because you have to just imagine you're a light bulb and you're like, is this going to dim me or keep me bright? Is this going to keep me on or is it going to shut me off? So that, just to speak on that, because I hadn't really put it together in that way. It is so important this year.
It's a really good analogy. And maybe it's like an ego death or transition is really, it's like, okay, well, this light bulb's burning out or it is out. We got to change it and get an LED or something in there that'll be brighter and more efficient, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah, you have to also say, you know what, I'm not shining as bright as I need to. You know, what do I need to turn off around me, or what do I need to just turn off for a minute? Do I need to just take a step back?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think because we're all home so much and we can't really go anywhere, a lot of people feel like, oh, that's a great excuse to just overwhelm ourselves with content and overwhelm ourselves with whatever is on TV, whatever a movie is out, whatever's on our social media, screen, and let's just, you know, over process things because now we have nothing else to do versus maybe reading a book or meditating because that's boring. You know what I mean? But it's like that's actually going to bring you closer to yourself. But a lot of people don't want to have to deal with themselves. They'd rather play video games and do things that distract themselves versus dealing with their things. And what happens is when they have to face themselves, or eventually when this whole pandemic is over, they won't be prepared in the way that they could have been had they dealt with themselves in the present time with this incredible opportunity to get to know themselves and consciousness better.